Rain lashed against the windows of the Celestial Lion facility. Alex Ambrose, a young man with tired eyes and a weary smile, stared at the blinking lights of his control panel. He worked the graveyard shift, ensuring the smooth operation of the city's power grid. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and allowed him to dream of a brighter future with Emily. He glanced at his watch, 2 a.m. 2 more hours until he could finally escape the fluorescent hum and head home. The air hung heavy with the smell of ozone and burnt coffee. Alex stretched, his back protesting with a dull ache. He missed Emily. They had planned to spend the weekend at the beach, but work had a way of interfering with their plans. His phone buzzed, the screen illuminating his tired face. It was Emily. A surge of excitement, quickly tempered by the late hour. Something was wrong. "Alex, I need you." Emily's voice, usually bright and cheerful, was thick with distress. "Can you come to the Sheraton South River Hotel? Room 307. Please, Alex, I need you now." The line went dead. Worry gnawed at Alex's gut. He tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. He grabbed his jacket, a knot of dread tightening in his chest. He clocked out, the security guard giving him a questioning look as he hurried past. The rain had intensified, the wind howling like a banshee. The drive to the Sheraton was a blur of red taillights and pounding rain. Each wiper swipe did little to clear the windshield, mirroring the growing sense of unease in Alex's heart. He pulled into the hotel parking lot, his car an island in the storm-tossed sea. He dashed through the rain, the hotel's neon sign a beacon in the darkness. He reached the elevator, his heart pounding in sync with the insistent rhythm of the rain. The hallway was eerily silent, lit by dim, flickering lights. Alex stood outside room 307, his hand hovering over the doorknob. He could hear muffled voices inside. He took a deep breath and pushed the door open. The sight that greeted him sent a shockwave through his being. The room was dimly lit, the curtains drawn against the storm raging outside. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, her hair disheveled, her eyes red-rimmed. But it was the man standing by the window, his back to Alex, that stole the air from his lungs. The man turned, and Alex felt his blood run cold. It was Mark, his colleague from the power plant, his arm casually draped around Emily's shoulders. Their eyes met, and in that split second, the world tilted on its axis. Emily gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Mark just smirked, a knowing, predatory gleam in his eyes. The silence stretched, thick with betrayal and heartbreak. "Alex, I can explain," Emily stammered, her voice barely a whisper, but Alex didn't want to hear it. The scene before him spoke volumes. The trust he had woven so carefully, thread by thread, lay shattered at his feet. He felt a surge of anger, hot and consuming, followed by a wave of crushing sadness. He had given Emily his heart, his trust, his dreams of a shared future, and she had thrown it all away. He wanted to scream, to lash out, to demand answers, but all he could manage was a hollow laugh, devoid of any humor. "Explain what, Emily? How long has this been going on?" His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. He felt numb, detached, as if watching the scene unfold from a great distance. The rain continued to beat against the window pane, a mournful soundtrack to his shattered dreams. He turned to leave, his steps heavy, his heart even heavier. As he stepped out of the room, the chime of his phone pierced the silence. He ignored it, wanting nothing more than to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the hotel room, the city, his life. He walked aimlessly, the rain soaking through his clothes, mirroring the storm raging within him. His phone chimed again, and again. He finally pulled it out, the bright screen a stark contrast to the darkness surrounding him. It was a text message from an unknown number. "Alexander Ambrose, this is Metro Skybank. We need to discuss the disbursement of your inheritance from the estate of Margaret Rose Livingston. Please contact us at your earliest convenience." Inheritance? Margaret Rose Livingston? The name meant nothing to him. He reread the message, his mind struggling to grasp its meaning. Could this be real? He pushed open the heavy glass doors of Metro Skybank, stepping into a world of polished marble and hushed whispers. Gone was the rain-drenched, heartbroken man of just a few hours ago. In his place stood a new Alex, a man on the cusp of a life he could barely comprehend. He approached the receptionist's desk, his phone clutched in his hand like a lifeline. "Alex Ambrose. I'm Alexander Ambrose," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "I received a message about an inheritance?" The receptionist, a woman with perfectly coiffed hair and a smile that could melt glaciers, checked her computer. "Receptionist. "Ah, yes, Mr. Ambrose. We've been expecting you. Please follow me." She led him through a maze of corridors, each turn revealing more wealth and grandeur than Alex had ever witnessed. They stopped before a set of imposing mahogany doors. "Receptionist Mr. Jones will see you now," she said, her smile widening. "And congratulations, Mr. Ambrose, your life is about to change." He entered the office, the door closing softly behind him. The room was bathed in sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a panoramic view of the city. Seated behind a massive oak desk was a man in a finely tailored suit, his face etched with experience and wisdom. He rose to greet Alex, a warm smile spreading across his face. "Mr. Jones? Mr. Ambrose, a pleasure to finally meet you. Please have a seat." Alex sat opposite Mr. Jones, who exuded an air of quiet power and authority. "Alex Ambrose." "I must admit," Alex began, his voice still laced with disbelief, "this whole situation is a bit overwhelming. I have no idea who Margaret Rose Livingston is or why she would leave me an inheritance." He ran a hand through his hair, feeling a surge of exhaustion mixed with a strange sense of exhilaration. Mr. Jones leaned back in his chair, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Margaret Rose Livingston was your grandmother, on your mother's side. You were very young when she passed away, and your mother chose not to pursue any connection with the family." He paused, letting the information sink in. "As for why she chose to leave her entire estate to you, well, that's a question best answered by her lawyers." He gestured towards a stack of documents on his desk. "The short answer, Mr. Ambrose, is that you are now a very wealthy young man, the sole beneficiary of a multi-million-dollar trust fund, several properties, and a rather impressive art collection." He smiled again, this time with a hint of fatherly pride. "Congratulations are in order, I believe." Alex stared at him, his mind reeling. Millions, properties, art collection. It was too much to process. The events of the past few hours, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the rain-soaked walk of despair, all seemed to fade into insignificance compared to the life-altering news he had just received. A wave of relief washed over him, followed by a surge of something he hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The dreams he had cherished, the future he had dared to envision with Emily, it was all within his grasp now. Only this time, he would be building that future for himself, on his own terms. He thought of Emily and Mark, their betrayal now a distant memory, overshadowed by the bright promise of his newfound freedom. He looked at Mr. Jones, a new sense of purpose settling in his gut. "What do I need to do?" he asked, his voice firm, resolute. This wasn't just about the money, although he wouldn't deny its allure. This was about taking control of his destiny, about forging a new path for himself, one paved with possibilities he had never dared to dream of. Mr. Jones spent the next hour explaining the intricacies of the inheritance, the investments, the properties, the sheer magnitude of his newfound wealth. Alex listened intently, absorbing every word, his mind racing with possibilities. He could travel the world, pursue his passion for photography, maybe even open that little bookstore he had always dreamed of. The world was his oyster, and he held the pearl. And lastly, Mr. Jones said, handing him a small velvet pouch, "This belonged to your grandmother. She wanted you to have it, no matter what." Alex opened the pouch gingerly. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft velvet, lay a simple silver key. There was no tag, no indication of what it unlocked, but somehow he knew it held a significance far greater than its size. He walked out of the bank, a changed man. The rain had stopped, the clouds parting to reveal a sky ablaze with the colors of a new dawn. He hailed a cab, a sense of exhilaration coursing through him. He didn't have a destination in mind, not yet. He just wanted to savor the moment, to embrace the unknown that lay ahead. He leaned back in his seat, the city lights blurring past, and raised his hand in a silent toast. To new beginnings, he thought, a smile spreading across his face. To second chances. To the unexpected turns life takes, leading us down paths we never knew existed. To good surprises.